Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Kim Thomason. I am the circle lead for VAAEYC's Professional Development Circle. We are thrilled to have you with us today and in your own time, if you may be viewing this recording later. We are happy today to be joined by two experts from Tools of the Mind. First, I am pleased to introduce Mariah Casillas, who brings a strong background working with both early learners and older students in a variety of educational settings. Mariah has led engaging hands-on science programs for young children, as well as worked extensively as a tutor and supporting multilingual learners as they transition into general classrooms, helping them bridge that academic gap and build confidence. Today, she is excited to share practical strategies, ideas, and insights drawn from these diverse experiences. I also would like to introduce Alina Kay, Partnership Development Manager at Tools of the Mind. Alina first discovered Tools of the Mind as a pre-K teacher in DC public schools, where initial hesitation soon grew into a powerful shift that reshaped her approach to teaching and learning. After moving to Colorado, she found herself applying this tools framework to her work in other roles and grade levels, and as an interventionist and as a member of a statewide early childhood panel. For the past 6 years, she has coached, led professional development, as we're doing here today, and built partnerships with districts across the country. In that work, Alina has witnessed profound shifts in teachers' practice and perspectives, and she continues to be inspired by their commitment to the critical job of being an educator. Drawing on her classroom background and expertise in early childhood development, she is especially passionate about the role of make-believe play in developing self-regulation and looks forward to being with us today. She's born in Virginia, where the Shenandoah Valley is still her happy place. I will now turn it over to Mariah to kick us off this afternoon.
Thanks for that introduction, Kim. We are both so really excited to be here today with you all and to share some helpful tips with you all today. So first, I want to start off by actually introducing you all to our 6 core areas of practice with Tools of the Mind. So as you can see on the screen here, we have our first core tool that we use within our full curriculum as well as our partner um, workshops as well. So our first one is our response to differentiation of challenge level. So we really focus, and I like to kind of always compare tools to more of like a rubber band where we're always flexible and always accommodating of different learners that we come across in our classrooms and in our spaces. Our next tool is scaffolding, which is pretty much what it sounds like. So within all of our activities, we are always helping to support children to grow, but also making sure that we are not kind of like doing the work for them and allowing them to learn. Our next one is our classroom practices for self-regulation. So understanding and embedding what self-regulation is truly throughout all of our activities, math, science, literacy, you'll find self-regulation is going to be seamlessly embedded. And then our play and playful learning, which is why we're here today. And Elena will talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes here. And our classroom culture. So making sure that students are bonding, they're growing a community within their partners and those that they come in contact with every single day. And our last one is partnership with families. So making sure that families and guardians have the same kind of tools to mimic the learning that's taking place within the classroom, as well as at home. So during our time together today, we're going to discuss play, but it's important to understand that all of these pieces fit together. So if you'd like to learn more about our comprehensive pre-K or our kindergarten curriculum, I would be happy to share more information about our conversation today. And so we talk with lots of educators just like you, and when we ask, what are their biggest challenges? And they always say things like academic performance is decreasing, behavioral challenges are increasing, and they're also focused on teacher retention and family engagement. So we're often asked how our approach to play touches on each of those areas of concern. This is a topic that we could spend pretty much an entire day on, and in fact, we do within our Bita Tools workshops called the Playful Path to Self-Regulation. However, our goal today is going to be to share some high-level information and leave you with some hope and maybe even some excitement about how the future of play can change in your program. So today we're going to take a look at how our purposeful approach to play develops self-regulation skills. First, to set the stage, what is self-regulation and why is it so important?
What is self-regulation? Self-regulation is the ability to pay attention even when you're bored, ignore distractions, persist at challenging tasks, hold information in short-term memory, inhibit behavior or words, delay gratification, and explain your thinking. Self-regulation doesn't just help young learners in education, it helps them throughout their lives.
So not only do these skills last a lifetime, research shows that self-regulation is the biggest predictor of success in school and life. So neuroscience research also identifies early childhood as a critical time to develop self-regulation. Today, we will discuss how developing these critical skills is best done through play.
Absolutely, and not just any type of play, but today we are going to be talking about the value of make-believe play. So make-believe play is that activity that has the greatest developmental potential for young children, and it's the activity that has the greatest impact on developing children's self-regulation during that critical period. And so all types of play hold value. This was something I wondered about entering into a classroom that was focusing on play through tools. We know that there are a lot of different types of play, but there is a distinction between make-believe play and free play. And we are familiar with what free play looks and feels like. Of course, it's this unstructured time where children get to explore materials independently or perhaps with peers or in parallel play, but there's no specific guidelines. Free play can often encourage impulsive behaviors. There's that object-oriented play, but there's less rules. So it can really encourage those impulsive behaviors, whereas an environment with make-believe play encourages more regulated, intentional behaviors and actions. Um, we also think about how make-believe play really engages children in this pretend scenario. They take on a role, they follow a set of rules determined by their role. And in make-believe play, children are motivated to follow the rules of their role, which we'll talk a little bit more about. Children really want to work together in this type of play. They want to work together to plan and to negotiate and interact meaningfully. They use language and gestures to keep their pretend play going. And they're voluntarily regulating themselves and their peers, and they're accepting regulation, all because they're really motivated to play. And self-regulation develops when children have opportunities to voluntarily practice it. Make-believe play is naturally motivating for children, and it's embedded with tons of opportunities to practice that self-regulation. So a little example here that I like to think about is we can pretend that we are in an ice cream parlor, right? So pretend we're maybe doing restaurant theme play, and one of our centers is the ice cream parlor. And maybe one child is pretending to be the customer and another child is being the ice cream scooper. Maybe they have an apron on and a badge to help them remember that they are the ice cream scooper or the worker. And the child pretending to be that worker or that scooper might remind their friend that, hey, you're the customer, you have to order from over here, right? Perhaps if their customer migrates to the back and starts playing with the ice cream and the scooper, you're not allowed to use the scoop. The customers stand over here, the workers stand over here, right? Those roles have rules and they're motivating. And the scooper is regulating their peer, and they also might be regulating themselves to remember, I'm not allowed to touch this ice cream, I'm working here, or I'm not allowed to scoop my preferred order. I have to listen to what my customer wants, right? So they're regulating themselves. Their role also has rules. So when children are engaging in make-believe play, they're motivated to practice following rules on purpose, right? Because they're playing. This really lays this foundation for them to eventually regulate their behavior outside of play and follow rules in other settings in their classroom and beyond. So to fully harness the developmental potential of play, we really must consider a purposeful approach. So these next slides are going to be diving into our core beliefs and strategies around implementing purposeful play in both pre-K and kindergarten settings. And we touch on a lot of thoughtful planning and facilitation, and we demonstrate how play can be transformed into a really powerful vehicle for learning and development in early childhood classrooms. So yeah, we believe in planning before and during play. So we'll talk a little bit about what that planning before looks like. And then children's play transforms and they continue planning during their play. We'll also talk about building background knowledge, co-constructing props, and what our role as educators and adults in the classroom is in facilitating play. It really involves children actively participating at every level of the process and teachers really thoughtfully facilitating and planning play as well. So we plan before and during play. Planning before acting is a big part of self-regulation development, right? I'm going to plan and do or plan and act. It's something that we incorporate into our approach to purposeful play. So in Tools of the Mind pre-K programs, every day before children go to their make-believe play centers, so they don't do this before free play, but before they go into their make-believe play centers, children make a plan of where they're going to play. So they select what center, and then they share a little bit about what they're going to do and who they're going to pretend to be. And this planning continues during the play. It might evolve, right? Maybe I'm done being the ice cream scooper. I'm ready to be a customer. And so it evolves as that sharing with children and those negotiations begin in their scenarios, in their play. So we'll talk a little bit about play planning. You saw in that picture there was some writing and some drawing. In tools, play planning is an activity where children are doing just that. They're planning their play. They choose where they want to be. They verbalize it. They might use gesture or point to a picture to communicate what they like to do. Um, they might say that they're going to be a customer or a mom or bake cookies, maybe give the dog a bath. And then after they communicate their plan, the teacher will encourage them to draw or to write their plan depending on their level. And this is using a process that we call scaffolded writing. And there's a quick note here on scaffolded writing. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to talk about it today, so we won't dive deeply about it, but this is a unique part of our program that's developed by our co-founders, Dr. Leong and Dr. Pedrova. And at a high level, teachers are meeting each child where they are to review their plan and to kind of work on one little element of their writing each day with some individualized scaffolding to support those emerging skills. And then the next day, the child can look back at what they planned the day before, whether they wrote it or drew it or scribbled it, and all of it holds meaning. It communicates the plan that they made the previous day, which helps them realize and remember that writing has meaning, and we can refer back to it. So play planning not only exercises a host of reading and writing and literacy skills, but it also exercises a core piece of self-regulation, that planning before acting. And this daily practice is really meaningful for children. They love writing messages and making a plan, and they end up doing this across the day in different ways as well. And teachers are able to track each child's scaffolded writing process throughout the year and share that progress with families. And it's truly amazing from a teacher who has facilitated this many times. It's always amazing to see the year to the end of the year in these in their scaffolded writing when they have daily practice with it. So another big thing that we do is we do background building. And a child's ability to engage in make-believe play scenarios really requires background building. So we'll go to the next slide here for background building. There we go. Perfect. So we might think about, for example, this looks like the grocery theme, right? We're making props, we're reading books. We might be even going on some field trips. We might be doing some turn and talks and asking children what type of food is in the produce area of the grocery store. What does the baker say at the grocery store? Thinking about some role speech. Or what does the cashier say to the customer, right? Really practicing and doing some background building and modeling around these roles and how they interact. And to build this meaningful shared background experience and knowledge for make-believe play, tools teachers are really learning how to explicitly teach children about the roles involved and practicing those roles, what they say and what they do and how they interact with each other. And teachers really plan these opportunities to build children's background knowledge and play theme. They think about what they want to set up in their classroom and they respond to it by gathering books or planning field trips, perhaps some guest speakers. Virtual field trips are also really popular now as well. And during this stage of background building, teachers are emphasizing the specific roles. What does the ice cream scooper say? Where does the customer stand, right? Emphasizing those rules of the roles, the particular vocabulary, depending on the level of your classroom and their language. You might emphasize certain levels of vocabulary and role speech. And all of this is meant to really inspire and motivate children in their own ideas for their pretend play theme. This gets into our next piece of co-constructing props. This is one of my personal favorites, and that is this idea of creating high-impact, purposeful play and constructing symbolic props with children. So sometimes these props are symbolic and abstract, a block that could become a phone or a scanner at the grocery store. And then we could also get a little bit more involved and take a box and turn it into a car or a drive-through window. It's meaningful to children when they get to exercise all of these different skills during prop building. And the process also really gets to drive their creativity, their collaboration. We can even see in these few photos here, children are working together in a meaningful way. It's guiding them to explore art materials in a more purposeful way, right? Rather than doing a canned art project, they're really creating something that is meaningful to them and their environment. Um, and we know that prescribed use of art supplies can be a scaffold and a way to introduce it to them, but it can also drain self-regulation and really cramp their cognitive flexibility. But instead, by turning this box into an oven or a car or a paper towel roll into a faucet, children get to exercise that cognitive flexibility by seeing that simple material transform and change into new ways and get to assign a new symbolic representation through that lens of play. And what we know is that when children create props and setting elements together, they exercise that collaboration and that shared vision, and it also helps them care a lot more about the play. They start understanding how a cash register works by creating one, right? And we also have that fine motor practice that's naturally embedded into this process. We can't say enough wonderful things about prop making. It can be modified, most importantly, as well, for all learners and all children's needs and goals for different emerging skills. So while some children might engage in painting and drawing, other children might engage in tearing and gluing and cutting. Maybe some children are writing a sign depending on their interest or their levels. And we have this goal of creating something for play. And it creates, again, that intrinsic motivation, that voluntary practice to make these mixed media creations with this profound sense of accomplishment. Here's some of those. In this next slide, we have examples of the writing. Some children might be practicing writing numbers or initial sounds and ending sounds. And children feel that strong sense of pride and ownership when they participate in creating something for their play. And they really get to practice these emerging academic skills as well. So we can see a child creating an ice cream menu. Some children helped color the ice cream scoops and decorate the ice cream flavors and toppings, while others used that inventive spelling to write out the flavors. And then some other peers might have helped glue them all in place, right? So they're all sort of using some of their emerging skills to participate in that same collaborative activity. Children are motivated to write numbers because they need the numbers for the scale or for the computer or whatever it is that they're making for their play, the doctor's office, right? We can also see a grocery list here that a child created in the midst of play because their role needed to remember what they needed to shop for at the grocery store. We can kind of guess what that she might be buying here with these. She drew a picture and the initial sound and the ending sound. So we see that she's shopping for broccoli, a cucumber. That one took me a minute to decipher, juice, and a pineapple. So a lot of that motivating writing happening in the midst of play as well. Children are learning while playing. As teachers, we can really facilitate this through the environment and as we brainstorm these play themes with children. We really believe that tools and academic content areas can be authentically and naturally integrated into make-believe play. So how many toppings do you want on your ice cream? One cherry, two marshmallows, zero chocolate chips, and then how much does it all cost? I only have $2. I need $1 more, right? Or during medical theme here, we see that children are naming babies in the nursery using those initial sounds and ending sounds. Teachers can really reflect intentionally some of the academic skills that children are working on into their centers so they can practice them authentically. They also might read a baby a story or measure how long they are and write it on their birth certificate. And these are just a few examples of how make-believe play can provide ample opportunities to practice skills in different academic content areas. And last but not least, we think about what our role is, right? This is not our time to check our email or run our attendance down to the office. Instead, we are really big on thinking about teachers as the facilitator, right? Children are in the play, and we believe that the adult or the teacher role is that of a facilitator. So here we can see some examples of what that might look like. Children need teachers to actively facilitate their make-believe play rather than take it over, right? So in addition to that background building and the co-constructing of props, teachers spend a lot of time observing their children during play and providing targeted support in the moment. So they don't jump into play with the children, but instead they're using their observations to stir up play between children, encouraging them to interact with peers through a role. And this is a process that does not happen overnight, right? Children are used to wanting to play with us and deliver us ice cream, but we might say, you have a customer, see what they would like to order, right? And this is the reason why Tools of the Mind is really focused on empowering teachers to support children at all stages of play, because we recognize that this scaffolding really takes careful observation and practice as well. In the beginning of the year, children may begin at a lower stage of play, such as object-oriented or centered play, but with that daily support, their play evolves over time. It gradually develops into more and more mature play that can sustain longer periods of time with more complex independent scenarios. So what we believe is by intentionally approaching play, educators can really ignite this powerful activity that is able to foster authentic self-regulation development, cognitive growth, and that social emotional development as well. And I'll pass it over to you, Mariah, here.
Thank you so much, Lena, for giving us some insight into our purposeful approach to play. We are a comprehensive curriculum that includes make-believe play and playful learning. In addition to facilitating make-believe play, teachers also facilitate playful learning across all academic content areas through various partner activities, small groups, and games. This is going to be an accomplished approach through daily activities such as read-alouds, math or science activities, or even opening group. So the way I see it is make-believe play is the culmination of learning that has taken place throughout the day rather than a separate thing in itself. For example, if you think about a restaurant theme, learning to count out the number of cookies ordered is related to math. Learning to create a menu is related to literacy, and content area learning is reinforced by make-believe play, and make-believe play is reinforced by content area learning. So there is a deep connection that should be celebrated and supported. Instead, many programs see play as an unstructured exploration experience. So while we believe that there is a time and a place for free play, we also want to share the news and through make-believe play is a critical component of learning in early childhood. And so Why play? We get this question a lot. And this quote is going to be a great way to share why we emphasize play and playful learning. I want to share this quote with you all as it encapsulates so much of what we believe here at Tools. And so I'll read off the quote. Furthermore, effective curriculum implementation relies on teacher skills in integrating play, cultural relevance, and continuity across developmental stages, which significantly influences children's foundational skills and learning outcomes. And so in addition to our comprehensive curriculum and our professional development, we also offer curriculum supplemental support through our Bite of Tools. And I just want to make sure, okay, great, that we have those options on the screen there. So these are targeted single-day professional development workshops that can be used to complement any curriculum or program that you have taking place in your rooms. And we receive such incredible feedback about these workshops, and we encourage you to talk with us if you're interested in learning more about each and how we can help to support your program further. I want to thank you all for spending time with us today and learning more about our play, about our workshops, and how we can help further support what you have taking place in your classrooms now. We do have some time left for questions and answers, so feel free to write your questions in the chat here, or, we're a small bunch here, so I think we can come off of mute. If you all have questions, Alina and I would be happy to answer. And don't worry, I know it's a lot of info now, so let it simmer. As questions come up, feel free to ask or reach out. I want to make sure that you all have a way of getting back in contact with us too if you have further wonderings or if you want to learn more about our other workshops here. So feel free to scan the QR code as well as my direct contact information. So my email and cell phone are also on the screen. Um, we are super excited and want you all to, feel supported. We do have several partners in Virginia that Elena, goes throughout those classrooms often. So specifically, we have Loudoun County as well as Roanoke County. And so I know she would be happy to share with you all her experience and how she supports them, our other partners.
Mm. Thank you all so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure to reconnect with Virginia. Like Mariah said, we are all over Virginia. And so if you are ever curious about seeing play in action in one of these classrooms, you can also reach out and we can connect you to some of the tools classrooms in your area. And as Steve mentioned in the chat box, we also have a resource page coming to you with some wonderful little tidbits as well as our website. So we'd love to stay in touch. So feel free to jot down this information and we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Well, thank you so much, Mariah, Lena, and Steve, for being with us today and sharing this information. I'm sure more questions will bubble up, and as was mentioned, please don't hesitate to reach out to them. On the VAAEYC side of things, we are very appreciative for your time today with us. If you have any questions about how you can become more fully engaged with VAAEYC, we encourage you to just reach out and look at our VAAEYC webpage and or become a member of our social media channels, both Facebook and Instagram, and you will see all the updates coming through there for programs such as these by this wonderful group and others that we will offer this fall. But also thinking forward to, please don't hesitate to look at and register for our annual conference this year. We always have a great group come together. It's a fabulous place to network and learn. So a great value to your professional development journey for the year. And we hope you'll plan to join us later in the spring of 26 for that. Also, to find more information out and or review or share today's recording, you can go to the website and look for the YouTube channel where these recordings live. And we hope you, again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at VAAEYC, and we're always welcoming new members to all of our helping circles. So again, more information for all of that content is on the VAAEYC webpage. With that, I appreciate everybody's time, and we look forward to seeing you next time for professional development and or at VAAEYC or in some of our circles. Thank you.